All right, in this lesson, we are going to be multiplying decimals. Please make sure that you're watching the correct lesson, though. This is multiplying decimals with negatives. So if you should not be multiplying decimals with negatives, please make sure you get back out of this lesson and you are watching the correct lesson. So real quick review, we are multiplying decimals with negatives, so I want to review your negative rules with you. So when you have a positive, times a positive, your result is going to be a positive. When you have a negative times a negative, your result is still going to be a positive. Now, on the flip side, when you have a negative times a positive, your result is going to be a negative. And when you have a positive times a negative, your result is going to be a negative, which basically means that if you have the same sign, your answer is going to be positive, and you have different signs, your answer is going to be negative. So please keep those rules in mind as we work our way through multiplying decimals. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, multiplying decimals works in a very similar way as multiplying whole numbers. So the first thing that you're going to do is completely ignore all of the decimals. You don't have to line them up as you're multiplying at all. It's not like adding and subtracting. You're just going to multiply as normal. So if you can for a minute, ignore all of my markings. So 4 times 3 is 12. So carry the 1, put the 2 down here. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 4 times 1 is 4. We're done with the 4. Cross it out, put a 0 as a placeholder here. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 2 is 6. And 3 times 1 is 3. Okay? Now we're going to add them up as normal. 2 plus 0 is 2. 9 plus 9 is 18. So here's the 8. Carry the 1. 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 1 is 11. So carry the 1, put the other one here. And 3 plus 1 is 4. Now, that is completely normal multiplication of 3-digit by 2-digit numbers, okay? Now, here comes the part where we're actually multiplying the decimals. So, I'm going to go back up here and erase some of my markings so I can show you what I wrote. You're going to go back up to the original problem and you're going to determine how many numbers you had after the decimal point in total. So, I have them circled for you here. We have 1, 2, and 3 numbers total that were after the decimal point. Here's the decimal, and here's the decimal. So we have 3 numbers total. Now we're going to go back down to the end of our answer, and we're going to draw a decimal point at the end of our answer. And now we counted 3 decimal places up here, so I'm going to move it to the left 3 over here. 1, 2, and 3. And that is where your decimal point will land. So your answer here is 4.182. Both numbers are positive, and so your answer will be positive. Okay? All right, let's take a look at an actual problem. So here we have negative 0.2 times 0.61. The only purpose of that negative sign there is to remind me I have a negative times a positive, and so my answer at the end will be negative. It has no bearing on how you actually compute and solve the problem, so please don't let it trip you up. Now, as a hint for you, I tend to put the number with the most digits on top because it does make the problem go a little quicker and there's less room for error. You can do it either way you want, though. You can put the 0.2 on top, you can put the 0.61 on top, but you're going to constantly see me put the number with the most digits on top. So 0.61 times 0.2. Okay, I'm ignoring my decimals. They're not even lined up. It does not matter. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. I'm done with my 2. Cross it out. Put the 0 down here. 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 6 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. Now I'm going to add up what I have. 2 plus 0 is 2, 2 plus 0 is 2, 1 plus 0 is 1, 0 plus 0 is 0. Now I determine my decimal and my sign. Go back up to my original problem. How many numbers are after the decimal? 1, 2, and 3. Start from the right, and here we go. 1, 2, and 3, and it's going to be negative. So my final answer is negative 0.122. All right, let's take a look at another problem. Here we have 4 times negative 0.17. Again, I'm going to choose to put the 0.17 on the top. The reason why, and I'll show you here the rationale behind it. If I did 4 times 0.17, for every digit that you have on the bottom, that's going to create another row that you have to add. And for me, that creates room for addition and other errors. And I just don't want those errors to be made. And so this leaves me a little more error-free. So 7 times 4 is 28. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. 4 times 0 is 0. How many numbers are after the decimal in the original problem? None here, and 1, 2 here. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, and it's a negative times a positive, so my answer is negative, and it's going to be negative 0.68. Okay. All right, 0.05 times 0.8. So again, I'm going to put that 0.05 on the top. That's just what I like to do. There's nothing wrong with flipping it the other way. 8 times 5 is 40. I'm going to carry the 4, put the 0 down here. 8 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. 8 times 0 is 0. I'm done with the 8, and I'm going to add a 0 as a placeholder. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0, and I'm going to add them all up. 0 plus 0 is 0, 4 plus 0 is 4, 0 plus 0 is 0, and I have another 0. Now I need to determine my decimal. How many numbers are after the decimal point in the original problem? 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to start from the right, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I have a positive times a positive, so my answer is positive, 0.040. Another way that you can also write this answer is to drop the last 0 at the end and just write 0.04. Either is acceptable. All right, so here we have negative 3.25 times negative 6.8. Again, you might be asking, why am I circling those negatives? For me, it's a visual reminder that I need to go back and check for my signs. If you're someone who forgets your negatives, highlight them, circle them, star them, do whatever you need to do so that you don't forget them, okay? So I'm going to put the 3.25 on the top times 6.8. Here we go. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 2 is 26. I'm done with the 8, so I cross it out and I put a 0 as a placeholder here. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 1 is 19. And I'm going to add them up. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 6 plus 5 is 11. Carry the 1. 9 plus 2 is 11, plus 1 is 12. 1 plus 1 is 2. Go back to my original problem and determine how many numbers are after the decimal place. So here I have 1, or after the decimal point, 2, and 3. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3. I have a negative times a negative, so my answer is going to be positive. So I can either write that my answer is 22.100, that is perfectly acceptable, or 22.1. Either is acceptable. All right, so now I'm going to add a variable situation in here for you. So again, we're going to get to variables later in the year, but I'm going to start to throw them at you here and there. We did a little bit in Unit 1 as well. So when I have something like 3n, that means that they're next door to each other, so we're going to multiply. And so what is n? This is n right here. So whenever we plug something in for a letter, we should put it in parentheses. It's a very good habit to have. So 3 times 4.047. So let's go ahead and multiply that. 4.047 times 3. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 3 times 4 is 12. Go back to the original problem and count how many numbers are after the decimal. None right here, and then there's 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3, and it's a positive times a positive, so my answer is 12.141. Okay? All right, you try these two on your own. All right, go ahead and hit pause if you're not done, and if you are done, we'll go ahead and talk about it. So for the first one, you should have gotten positive 0.009 or positive 9 thousandths. They were both positive, so your answer should have been positive. For the second one here, you should have gotten negative 26 and 46 hundredths. One was positive, one was negative, so your answer should have been negative. And so negative 26 and 46 hundredths there. Okay, go ahead and try these two. All right, if you're not done, go ahead and hit pause. And if you are done, let's go ahead and go over it. So for number 3, you should have gotten positive 1.824 or positive 1 and 824 thousandths. And then for number 4, you were multiplying 6 times negative 6 and 23 hundredths. And you should have gotten negative 37 and 38 hundredths. All right. That is the end of this multiplying decimals lesson, and we will have tons more practice in class.